Hi everyone. I hope that you're all doing well. It's another snowy day here in Boone. We've had a very snowy winter this year. For those of you who are planning to come back to campus, hopefully pretty soon, I hope that you'll have a chance to enjoy some more snow once you come. So I want to start by thanking you for all the good work that you've all done so far. I really enjoyed reading your information sheets and watching your Flipgrid videos to get to know you a little bit individually, even from a distance. And for this week, week 2, it looks like people are doing a good job getting an assignment to, getting started with your discussion forums. So I'm happy to see that, and I look forward to hearing your responses to the topic for this week. So on the information sheets, I asked you to tell me what you think will be the greatest challenge of the asynchronous online format. By far, the most common response was you're concerned about keeping track of due dates, what the deadlines are for the work. So I wanted to say just a couple of words about that. Most of your due dates will pop up for you on As You Learn over on the right-hand column. I'm sure that you've noticed this to some extent already. So your short assignments that are worth 25 points each, those due dates will always pop up on As You Learn. Both of the exams for Units 1 and 2, all of the work for your Unit 3 research project, all of those due dates will show for you on As You Learn. But there will be a few things that won't show up, and most of those will be things having to do with the group interactions. So I just wanted to warn you to always look at that checklist that I'm going to post each week and be sure that you make a note for yourself of if there's a group discussion, when do you need to post your own post, when do you need to respond to the others. And the reason that those due dates don't always show up is that, like in some cases, there's a platform like Flipgrid that's not directly connected to As You Learn, so that deadline's not programmed into As You Learn. And then with this week's discussion, for example, and this will often be the case, I asked you to post a post of your own by Thursday night and then respond to the others by Friday night. So that's 2 deadlines within one discussion forum, and I can't really program in 2 deadlines. So the deadline that you're seeing pop up for that discussion will be tonight at 6 p.m., but you also need to post your response to the others by tomorrow being Friday, by Friday night at 6 p.m. So if you have any questions about that, just let me know. And for last week's Flipgrid presentations, in case anybody got confused because you didn't see the deadline on As You Learn and so you didn't do it, for that, I will permit you to still post your Flipgrid presentation late for full credit, because I'd really like to have everyone's presentations up there so that you can get to know every single person in the class. But in general, with the discussions, that's the one thing in the class that I really won't accept late work on because you have to do those as a group. So be careful not to miss them. If you do miss a couple of them because you have an emergency or you just blank out on the deadline, in some cases I can give you other ways to make up those points if it just happens a couple times or if you have an emergency. So, don't freak out if you miss something. Just get back on track and keep going with the work. I've also posted your first extra credit quiz this week, and those are optional. Just do them if you like that kind of thing. I'm giving you an incentive to just do a little bit of extra review. You can do them week by week if you like. You can save them up for right before the exams and use them to review before an exam. You could also save up all the extra credit quizzes till the very end of the semester and use them as sort of a comprehensive review at the very end because we won't have a final exam for this class. So, if you want to make use of those, go ahead and use those on your own time. This week's topic for week 3 will be sea level rise, and for that we'll be getting into the common reading, Elizabeth Rush's Rising. So sea level rise is a well-known consequence of climate change, and it happens for a couple of major reasons. The most obvious one that we can see is the melting of ice. For example, the melting of ice sheets and so forth, close to the North Pole, close to the South Pole. We read about these things in the news all the time. Ice melts, the water enters into the ocean, that raises the levels of the oceans. The other reason for sea level rise that we can't see directly is that warm water expands. As water gets warmer, it expands. So the warming temperatures around the globe make the oceans get warmer, and that literally makes the oceans get bigger, and that causes sea level rise. So around the planet, some coastlines are affected by sea level rise more than others. So some parts of the world are more threatened by it than other places. And we'll learn more about specific places over the course of this semester. I'm not going to give you a PowerPoint lecture about sea level rise because instead I found a couple of really good videos that I think you'll enjoy watching. So let me just quickly show you what you'll need to look at. So here we are in week 3, and the first video is just called Earth Science Basics Sea Level Rise. It's only about 2 minutes long. This second video, Rising Tides, Understanding Sea Level Rise, that's also only about 2 minutes long. So they're short, but they're very, very useful. And then I'd also like you to watch this one that's just a few minutes called Sea Level Rise on the North Carolina Coast. Then for readings, this one called The Effect of Salinity on Photosynthesis gives a brief scientific explanation of how salt water affects plants in general. So we looked at photosynthesis last week and talked about how plants generally draw up water through their roots from the soil. So there are a few plant and tree species that are adapted to salt water that typically grow along ocean coasts and can handle salt water. But the majority of plants can't handle salt water. They're not adapted to it. So salt water damages those plants and eventually will kill those plants if there's enough salt water in the soil. And this little article just explains scientifically how that works. And along coasts where trees are getting killed by sea level rise because of the salt water in the soil, we're getting what are called ghost forests, ghost G-H-O-S-T. And ghost forests are forests that have standing dead trees that have been killed by salt water. And in the first bit of the common reading book that you'll be reading for this week, Elizabeth Rush describes ghost forests. She gives a very expressive and evocative account of visiting a ghost forest, and so that'll give you a really vivid idea of what ghost forests are once those trees have been damaged and killed by salt water. And here, in case you don't have a paper copy of the book, most of you should have a paper copy, but in case you don't, here's how you can get to an ebook in the library. Now, I also want to take you up to here where it says Common Reading Resources and Assignments. You're required for this class to do 2 written responses to university events related to the common reading. There will be a couple of live streams with the author Elizabeth Rush this semester. I don't have the dates for those right now, which is partly why I don't set a due date for this requirement. If you like, you can also write your response based on a recording of one of last semester's events. Like if you want to get ahead and just do it right now, you can. And I really recommend especially this first live stream with Elizabeth Rush. She's got an ASU student who helps to interview her, who does a really great job. And students in my class last semester really enjoyed hearing Elizabeth Rush talk about what it was like to research this book, what it was like to write it, some of the obstacles she encountered, why the subject inspires her, and so forth. So the live stream is about an hour and a half long, and you can write up your short 500-word response while you're watching it. The response does not need to be polished. It's very informal. You just tell me what you learned from the live stream, things she said that caught your interest, why you found them interesting. So if anyone wants to get ahead and do that this week, as we're starting to read the book together, this is something else that you could get done. But those responses aren't technically due until really the end of the semester. You can do them whenever you want. Another option for your written responses to a university event is to attend this live stream by someone else that's going to happen on February 11th. And the topic is close enough to the common reading that I'm going to let you use this event for the requirement also if you want to. So in case you want to attend this, I just want to show you the date. It's February 11th, 7 to 8:30 p.m. It's going to be a live stream. And this is Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, who's a well-known climate science expert doing all kinds of great work concerning climate change. And she's doing an event specifically with App State, and I hope that quite a few of you will be able to attend and support the event. And again, you can write up your 500-word response probably just as you're listening to it informally, just react to what she says, what interests you. I'll definitely be going to that myself, and I look forward to hearing your reactions to it. Okay, and now back to As You Learn for the final time. I want to also draw your attention to the tree of the week, which is going to be the bald cypress. Now, bald cypress is a species that's native to more coastal areas. It's not a native species here in the mountains, but I've chosen it for this week because being closer to the coasts, it's more likely to be affected by sea level rise, so it fits into our theme for the week. And in the opposite corner of the state from here, scientists have discovered some extremely old bald cypress trees growing, and this little video talks to you about that. And it's a beautifully produced video. You feel like you're right there in this bald cypress swamp, and they tell you how they dated the trees, how they figured out how old these trees are. So students enjoyed this last semester, and I think that you'll enjoy it too. So tree of the week, the bald cypress. And again, it's not native to the mountains, but we do have some bald cypress trees planted around the campus. The landscapers take care of them and get them to grow, even though this is a higher elevation than where they would normally grow. So when you're back on campus, maybe you can check out the bald cypress trees that we have right here. Okay, so in conclusion, I'll let you go to get started on that work in just a minute here. But I just wanted to say a couple more words on the common reading and our interaction with it. This is a very intense book. Elizabeth Rush is writing about something that she considers a big emergency, a big crisis for the planet and for the United States, for coastal areas of our own country. And, you know, she talks about how sea level rise destroys certain types of ecosystems and forests. She talks about the emergence of ghost forests where living forests used to be. She also talks about the devastating impact of sea level rise on human communities, people losing their homes and sometimes even their lives in big floods that are caused by sea level rise and climate change. So, you know, these are topics that can be scary, they can be difficult to engage with, and I know that some college students can be very worried about these kinds of things and worried about the future. And I just want to underline that in this class, it's not my goal to leave you feeling super depressed about all the things that are going wrong around the world. I wouldn't want you to leave this feeling that way. And the positive thing that I really like about teaching something like climate change from the angle of forests is that people who take my class usually really love forests. You love being out in nature. You love them aesthetically for their beauty. You love hiking and other kinds of recreation. And the good news about forests and climate change and the consequences of climate change is that by protecting forests that we already enjoy for so many reasons, we can help to fight against climate change because the forests are good at sequestering carbon. Forests also protect coastlines. For example, mangrove forests that grow in places like Florida are coastal forests that help to protect land from erosion, help to buffer human communities from the impacts of things like hurricanes. So the positive sort of take-home message is that forests are a really good part of the solution to these problems. So I hope that by learning more about climate change and its consequences in conjunction with forests and natural ecosystems, that solutions to the problems can also start to emerge in your minds. Okay, so please keep in touch as the rest of this week and next week go on. For any of you who may be traveling up to campus soon, I hope that you have a safe trip and a smooth time settling back in. I'll be in touch with you soon. Bye-bye.